Now, welcome everybody. My name is Edwige Simon, and I'm the director of this professional development program for language educators. The program is based at the University of Colorado Boulder in the Division of Continuing Education. And it's a small program. It's not a master's program. It's a credential. It's a 12 graduate credit program, and it's fully online, and we offer courses year-round. The minimum requirement for admission is a BA and an affiliation with the world of language education, because if you don't, you're just not going to enjoy our courses. All we talk about is proficiency, technology, language learning, a pretty specific program. Some students take some courses here and there and have no intention to complete the program. Other students do finish the program, usually in about 3 semesters, although if you want to finish the program, you have up to 3 years to complete the 12 graduate credits. And it's a program that is focused on technology integration in the language classroom. It's a very practical program. In each course that you take, read the research on a specific topic. We look at practical tools. We look at ways to use those practical tools, language learning activities. And so all of our courses are project-based. And actually today, Kristin is going to present a topic that she researched in one of the certificate courses. In almost all of our courses, students develop a project over the course of 8 weeks or 10 weeks, and they have complete discretion in their choice of topic. And Kristin decided to investigate music in the language classroom. And so what you're going to research that she found, articles that she read, people she talked to, but also her own experience with using music in her Spanish class. I'm going to unmute my screen so that Kristin can actually go ahead and share hers. And while she does that, I'll introduce her. Kristin Marena is a Spanish teacher at Ringgold High School in Pennsylvania. Kristin, did I mute you? I might have.
Hello. Thanks, Edwige. So today I'll be presenting on using music in the world language classroom. I myself use a lot of music in the classroom, and a lot of the ideas that I present today aren't my own ideas. I've gotten most of my ideas from other teachers and other resources, so just wanted to kind of share that all with you. But first, let's talk about like why I want to use music in the classroom. One quote that I found pretty relevant was this quote by Cecily Morgan. She says, "Music is life, and that's why our hearts have beats." And this really sort of rings true with everybody. I mean, humanity as a whole, it's music kind of transcends humanity. Every culture, every race, everybody has some kind of music that's part of their world, and it's communicated the diversity of the world in many forms, incorporating various styles, rhythms, instruments, lyrics, dance, histories, and environment, all kind of cultivate music. So Billy Joel said that he thinks music in itself is healing, and that it's an explosive expression of humanity and something that we are all touched by, no matter what culture we're from. Everybody loves music. To get another quote that kind of rang true when I think about using music in the classroom. Starting with some of the science behind the music. Some of the research that I'm going to show you came from an article by Pauline de Grave that she published, Music in the Foreign Language Classroom, How and Why, in the Journal of Language and Teaching Research. This was published in May of 2019. This is just a little synopsis of that article, and some of the science that I'm going to pull out of here from her like literature analysis, just what I thought relevant. If I were, I could do a whole webinar just on her article. But so one of the first parts of the research that she wrote about was the Mozart effect, and some of you may be familiar with this because I remember some of my teachers talking about it in high school back in the 90s. The study that she mentions by Lazanov in 1978 made use of classical music in order to relax students' state of mind and make the brain more receptive to learning. So the idea is this: just playing classical music in the background while students are working is something that helps them get more focused. And so it turns out that even though this study just concentrated on the use of classical music, and that just using instrumental music in general has the same effect. And I would encourage you, if you are not somebody who already does this, but if you have students working on something, a project, or even a warm-up activity, just putting on some music tends to kind of settle them down and focus them more. It's something simple and easy that you can do, and it's a great use of music. Today, you hear a lot of talk about anxiety and students who suffer from anxiety. There was a study conducted in 2014 and again in 2016 that concluded that teaching with songs reduced anxiety, especially for students with particularly high anxiety. Using songs to teach vocabulary, grammar structures, pronunciation, and culture also proved to be a motivating factor, especially when we use authentic music as a means of presentation. So again, if you're looking to reach students that have anxiety, some don't want to talk in the classroom, giving them music is a way to help them overcome that. Billy Joel said, I think that music in itself is healing. It's an explosive expression of humanity. It's something we are all touched by, no matter what culture we're from. Everyone loves music. And I think that's a quote that really kind of speaks to me when thinking about including music in the classroom, and encompasses the reasons why you should. Another bit of science that we found, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this, but music just sticks in your head. 2 studies were conducted in both 1990 and again in 2010, in which students were given a multiple choice vocabulary test after hearing a story. And the study showed that students who heard a sung story as opposed to a spoken one performed better on the test. So just from this study alone, you can see that students, when they hear something sung, it sticks in your head a little bit better than if you just speak it. Another study conducted back in 2009 tested the impact of the song on text recall, and participants had to either rehearse and perform a musical version of a poem, or they had to answer questions and play memory games. And the results showed that students who obtained higher results on a translation assessment who completed the musical version of the task. So that's something else to kind of think about. I know I myself am guilty of using, more questions and memory games in my classroom. And so this might have me think a little bit more about how to present information and get students, more engaged with the material. Just being around music, it turns out, helps you pick up the language. This author, Susana Zareski, said that she was listening to Portuguese radio stations every day while driving to and from work, and without even realizing it, she was picking up vocabulary and grammar structures and pronunciation. In 2009, she wrote about her experiences in a book called Language is Music, in which she composed a collection of tips on using media such as music to learn a foreign language, and she has presented these ideas to the Department of State and universities like Stanford and UC Berkeley. So again, I'm sure, just being around it, I think, helps you pick it up. You can put on just music in the background, even if they're not actively trying to learn the song. Eventually, it just kind of works its way in. Using comprehensive input in music. So if we think about that study where they had the vocabulary recall, where they said students who heard a sung story perform better, this kind of ties in with comprehensive input. Stories are a significant part of instruction if you use CI. And if you've haven't heard of him before, but Senor Woolley, James Woodridge, has successfully exploited the advantages of music and integrated it with comprehensive input through his website that houses a host of musical videos that mix both. There is a whole Facebook group called Senor Woolley Teachers. These teachers swear by his program. I personally have not used his program. I have gone on and I've used some of his songs when teaching certain concepts. A long time ago, I found his "ser" song on YouTube, and I used that to help my students memorize the forms of the verb "ser." This teacher, in particular, this Sarah Brackley, runs a blog called TCI Class Diaries, and she published in June of 2019 a blog post in which she gave a case for Senor Woolley. And in this post, she mentions that his website, his songs are extremely compelling. They're engaging. They're silly. They're repetitive. And there are a host of different resources and even tutorial videos on there available for you in order to use his resources. Now, it's not free, unfortunately. There are some things that you can access for free on there, but if you want just access to the videos, you're looking at like $40 a month. And if you want full access where you can actually create classes and assign students work via the website, it's around $80-some a year, which I guess isn't too bad of a price. But if you can get your school district to pay for it, that's even better. So let's go into some other ways to use music. One person in particular, Allison Weinhold, is sort of my mentor because of her blog and also her resources that she has available. She uses a ton of music in her teaching, and she has one blog post in particular in which she just talks about what to do with a song in Spanish class. And she gives the advice of using it as a simple time filler or for a brain break, using it as a starter, integrating it as a weekly ritual, or making it the heart of your lesson. If you want to dig deeper with a song, she includes some ideas like using a music video as a movie talk, listening to the audio and making predictions, analyzing lyrics, illustrating what the song is about, putting lyrics in order. So with this one, you would print out the lyrics, maybe like in larger print, and then cut them out. And then as you play the song, have the kids place them in order as they hear them. Tallying the number of times they hear a word or a phrase, writing a review, or investigating more about the artist, genre, or song. So as you see there, I mean, you could probably spend an entire week just on a song using all of these ideas. Another idea that she presents is called mania musical, which is the idea of using musical brackets as a way to present music and turn it into a competition. I actually just did this for the first time. This past month was Hispanic Heritage Month. So she has a resource on her Teachers Pay Teachers store with it comes with three kind of, I guess, packets where you have one song for each day from each Spanish-speaking country. And you can present that song and then have the students vote on it, talk about what they liked about it, what was the song about, and so forth. So what we did is I presented 2 songs a day, one from 2 different countries, and then we kind of did it as a competition, like which song is going to win. And I had the students fill out brackets ahead of time, they're very easy to make. You can just simply Google search, make a bracket, and there are a ton of free bracket makers out there. And then they filled out their brackets, and then I made it a competition by offering certain prizes for, getting the final 4 or getting the country that won the entire competition. And it was a lot of fun. More ideas from Allison include, from a Facebook Live event that she hosted, there were some resources shared. And one of those is Zachary Jones' website, which is dedicated to teaching Spanish with music. And another is Radio Garden, which is a site where you can access radio stations from around the world. The Zachary Jones website looks like this, and there is a store where you can purchase activities, but he also has all the songs organized by grammar topic, which makes it super easy if you're looking for a song that would particularly work well with something that you want to present or teach. And then he also offers activities to accompany those. Most of those activities you do have to purchase, however. The Radio Garden website I had never knew existed until I watched this Facebook Live event, and it's pretty cool. It kind of resembles a little bit Google Maps, and you can zoom in on a country and then pick radio stations from around that country. And if you can see these little green dots on the screen, these are all radio stations. And so it's a really cool way to be able to listen to radio from around the world. And expose your students to, radio that's, in Spain or in Peru or wherever you want to listen to radio from. So it's a great, great resource. Again, Allison has a Teachers Pay Teachers store, which I frequent quite a lot. And she also offers a lot of freebies through her blog and through her store. So I would recommend checking her out. Another article that I read came from The Language Educator, and it highlighted some experiences of teachers from around the country who used music in the classroom. And one particular that I found interesting was this Olga Mancuso, who's an Italian teacher from Maryland, and she uses opera in order to teach not just vocabulary and grammar to her second and third graders, but uses it as a medium to expose her students to cultural norms, mythology, and geography. So, you can kind of take music a step further and really use it not just to teach language, but to teach, other aspects of the, history and culture of a country. In my own experience, so I had always, when I started teaching 13 years ago, I'd always wanted to incorporate music, but working with high schoolers, the 9th through 12th graders, they always seemed like they would be too cool to sing or enjoy music in class. And one day I just finally decided to take the risk and start using songs that actually were created with my textbook. I used the Realidades program, which I have mixed feelings about, but they included some pretty catchy like rap style songs that help kids memorize like vocabulary and grammar. And what was funny about this is that at first, at the beginning of the year, it was pretty tough to get them to sing. But as the year progressed, they started to notice their own success because of the music. And then they wanted to sing. And they were asking me, can we sing? What song are we going to sing? And anytime I would say, and I have a song for you guys to help you remember this, they were like, oh, yay. And so, again, don't let it discourage you if they're tough at first, because, teenagers, if you're working with teenagers, little kids are easy because they love to sing. But when you're working with teenagers, it can be tough. But just keep chipping away at them, and eventually they will come around. And that's what I did. The first year I did it, I just kind of stuck with it and plowed through it, and it's been kind of easy going ever since. As part of my curriculum, I do a quarterly speaking project using music. And so each quarter I give the students a list. It's a small list. It's like 3 songs. And they have to memorize a verse from the song. And I choose what verse I want them to memorize. But what I've noticed is that students, they start to get excited about the music. They're downloading it onto their phones or singing in the hallways and during class. And they often request to hear the songs, and they're excited to sing along, especially when they know the words. It was really funny. One time I was chaperoning prom, and one of the songs I had my students memorize was a verse from Dança Kuduro, which is a song that's in both Portuguese and Spanish. But it's great for teaching commands. And they played that song at prom, and the whole group of my students came up to me and were so excited that they were singing along with Dança Kuduro. And so it kind of gave me that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And it was all because of this speaking project that I give every quarter. Another unit I did, I spent an entire week talking about the culture of Latin dance. And so for this unit, my goals were for students to be able to identify different Latino music styles, to identify where the different styles originated, and to perform the basic steps to several different styles. Some of the activities that I included, I had a subscription to a magazine a while ago called Think Spanish, which always has really great articles on all kind of different cultural and historical topics. And so I found several articles from that magazine that talked about the different styles, their origins and instruments. We read the articles and, you know, answered basic comprehension questions about the content. I also had a video that I had purchased from Teachers Discovery called The Culture of Latin Dance, which we also watched. And then I incorporated YouTube to play various styles as kind of an assessment and have students identify them. And I had them submit their answers via a Google form. I'd play them a song and they'd have to choose, is that merengue, is that cumbia, is that bachata? And then they would submit their responses so that I could assess if they, you know, met my goal or not. And then finally, to kind of culminate the lesson, I used a Zumba exercise video to teach them basic steps for merengue, salsa, and cumbia. And Zumba is great because that means I don't have to really, you know, I don't have to be like this talented dancer to really teach them. It really breaks it down in a very comprehensible way so that students can easily follow the steps, and it was great. And it was a good exercise as well, and the students enjoyed it. I also recently did a unit on childhood. And during this unit, the students learned to talk about their childhood using the past tense. As part of the lesson, we explored various childhood stories and songs. And I focused on several childhood songs that are well known in the Spanish-speaking world. One in particular, Ping Pong, shows up as a cultural difference in the movie Shrek when translated to Spanish. And it's pretty cute. It's about Ping Pong. Es un muñeco muy guapo y de cartón. Se lava la carita con agua y con jabón. And in this scene in Shrek, where Gingy is being tortured by the king, or Lord Farquaad, and he asks him, "Do you know the Muffin Man?" In English. In Spanish, he asks him, "Do you know Ping Pong?" And then they have this whole conversation about, well, Ping Pong, he's a muñeco muy guapo y de cartón. And the kids thought it was really interesting. When I showed them, I was able to pull up the YouTube video of this scene, both in English and in Spanish, so that they could see. And of course, they were all familiar with the English version. But when the Spanish version came up, they, you know, they obviously didn't know who Ping Pong was until I had shown them that song, and they sung along with it. And then I showed them this video to make that connection and that cultural difference, because, you know, they don't have the Muffin Man in Latin America. So, all right. Also, I used QR codes, and this resource I did not make. I purchased this also from Teachers Pay Teachers, but this fantastic resource uses QR codes and incorporates these childhood songs. So it came with probably about 20 of these signs with the different songs and their lyrics, and then the students were able to scan the code with their phone to access a YouTube video of the song, and then they were able to follow along. And I had made some station sheets where they had to visit so many songs, and then at the end I wanted them to choose their favorite song and then analyze the lyrics and what was the song about. So it was really cute and fun, and just a great way to expose them to, you know, some culture. So here's a list of songs that I like to use. And I've also placed the links here. These are non-authentic, so you can choose to use authentic and not authentic songs, and I use both. So if I'm teaching grammar, here are some songs that I use. Conjugations Back is a great song for teaching present tense conjugation. Reflex Your Verbi is another great one for teaching reflexive verbs. The California Girls parody for preterite verbs. The Irregular Preterite Song is another great one. That's by Senor Jordan. He created that video. If you're not familiar with Senor Jordan, he has an entire a YouTube channel which you can subscribe to. The question words Jingle Bells song is a great one. Subject pronouns do, re, mi. These for like beginner level Spanish 1. The 1, 2, 3 que hora es song. That's a great one. A donde vas? This is one of the, and a mambo que te gusta hacer are also from the Realidades books, but somebody went and created YouTube videos for them. So they're really great as well. As far as authentic goes, I had, the list is endless, but here are my favorites. So Vivir mi vida by Mark Anthony to teach the construction of the verb ir plus a plus infinitive. No tengo dinero by the Cumbia Kings can teach tener, querer, poder. Limón y Sal by Julieta Venegas teaches irregular verbs and stem changing verbs. Adios le pido by Juanes for the present subjunctive. Que hiciste by J-Lo for preterite versus imperfect. Bello and Mustero by Beyonce and Shakira for direct and indirect object pronouns. Que tengo que hacer by Daddy Yankee for irregular verbs. And tener plus que plus infinitive. Ven a bailar by J-Lo for 2 commands. Yo no sé mañana by Luis Enrique for the future tense. Me marcharé by Los Cadillacs for the future tense. Te estaba buscando by Enrique Iglesias and Nicky Jam for the present and the imperfect progressive. And como hemos cambiado by the presuntos implicados for the present perfect. It's a pretty, but again, my list is huge, but I just wanted to give you my favorites. So my go-to resource for music is this web called Spark Enthusiasm. These ladies who created this website have a plethora of resources and an entire list of songs that you can just kind of go in and browse through, and accompanying videos and so forth. So it's a great place to go if you're not sure like where to even start to look for music that you can use. I would suggest going here. And so my conclusions, therefore, for using music is that it's motivating to students. It reduces anxiety. It helps with focus and language acquisition. When you put words to music, they naturally become easier to remember. And then there's just a ton of authentic and teacher-made resources out there available to help you integrate it into your lessons. So I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. I think that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Yes. All right, so we do have a couple questions in the chat. I'm gonna turn on my video, and so we have at least one question in the chat. So it is a question about your quarterly speaking project. And Debbie would like to know, what were your learning goals? What are you hoping your students will learn from your quarterly learning project, memorizing a part of a song?
Really, the goal is for them to learn pronunciation, and then also to build confidence, because just giving them something where they can say it with confidence and say it fluently helps them to just kind of, even if they're not entirely sure what they're saying, being able, like, every time the kid, oh, you're taking Spanish class, so say something to me in Spanish, and there's like, oh, put on the spot. With the quarterly speaking project, it gives them kind of an arsenal of ammunition to have when somebody presents them with that question. Oh, you're taking Spanish class? Say something to me in Spanish. And they pop out with, no tengo dinero ni nada que dar, lo único que tengo es amor para amar. And they know the words to a verse of a song, and then whoever was talking to him is instantly impressed. So the goals were really just to build confidence for the students to be able to want to speak and not have that fear, and then also for pronunciation purposes.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. I can really relate to the confidence piece. When I was a little kid learning English, as I think we started when I was 7 or 8 years old, we did a lot of songs and also dialogue memorizations. And I know it's not a very popular approach anymore to have students memorize dialogues. But for me, even if the sentences that I memorized were not very useful, there was such a big confidence boost because I could just hear myself speak English, and I thought I sounded pretty good because I'd memorized it and listened to the dialogue. So there's definitely a confidence element to that. Does anybody else have any more questions? You have the chat window. If you move to the bottom of your Zoom window, there is a navigation bar at the bottom, and there's a chat room where we have a couple where Debbie posted her questions. And also, you're welcome to share with us your favorite resources when it comes down to teaching with music. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite website? You're welcome to post those in the chat room as well. And I'm going to wait a couple minutes because I know it sometimes takes a little bit for people to locate the chat room. Kristin,
I'm having trouble finding the chat room.
I know it's not very intuitive, but we'll wait a couple minutes, and if nobody posts, I'm very, very happy with attendance because it's Friday night, and I know on the East Coast it's 5 p.m. It's only 3 p.m. for us. There's a question from Margot who is asking whether we're going to make this presentation available, and yes, absolutely. I'm going to upload it to our YouTube channel, and I'm going to post and email the recording and the slides to all the participants. So yes. All right, well, if there are no questions, I'm gonna let you all enjoy your weekend or finish your grading. And you can expect to receive the recording by Monday morning. And our last webinar this semester is on October 23rd. It's a webinar by Yves Lyons, who will be talking about teaching languages to students with learning differences. So I hope you can join us. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. Marianne saying thank you for sharing these resources. Did you find the chat, Kristin?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Mary Antoinetta is saying she loved the presentation. She knew some of the things, but now she gets new ideas. Brahim, the resources will be shared with you via email on Monday. I'll email you the slides, and I'll email you the presentation, and they will also be posted on our website. I just need a little bit of time to get that uploaded and set up.